Now, Mr. DeSuza, I have heard the argument that, of course, there were people who were let go from the program. These people have no money in their pockets. They don't have any jobs, and so therefore it is a sort of encouragement to antisocial behavior. You're sending them to steal, you're sending them to be in gangs and all that sort of a thing. And it was basically said recently, especially at the National Crime Reduction Symposium, by members of the opposition, that you're doing away with P.E.P, and it was intended to put money in people's pocket and to stem antisocial behavior.
Well, I want to say to the nation again that the minutes of the P.E.P, when it started under the former administration, indicated that the program should last for no more than 6 months. I want to make that absolutely clear. We appreciate that if people don't have jobs, they will turn to antisocial behavior, because as long as you have an income, regardless to how small it is, that's kind of a deterrent for me to get involved in that. I am not aware as to any mass set of persons who were removed from the program. We had a situation up at Newtown where persons were being trained in one area, for example, cosmetology,
Sure.
for some 3 years. And when I brought that program to an end, each and every one of those girls continued to get paid, and they were assigned to another institution. Each and every one of them continued to get paid, and they were assigned to another
given a permanent job.
Given a permanent job at a private institution. I don't understand why is it that some person in this country want to create the impression that there's a major problem with the program and we're sending home people. That couldn't be further from the truth, okay? And I say no more on that.
Sure. Obviously, the politics is still being used, the program is still being used, as politics for some persons. But I've understood your focus, that you're trying to reform the program and to make the program into a real skills training program. Now, you did mention that the S.T.E.P program will work along with the National Skills Training Institute program and the Technical, Vocational and Educational Training, which is S.T.E.P Secretariat Council. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
I want to let the camera focus on this document. It's called a tripartite agreement. A tripartite agreement that was signed on the day of the launch between the National Skills Training Program, the Skills Training Empowerment Program, and the Technical and Vocational Education and Training Council. Now, this document speaks at length to the roles and responsibilities of each of these parties to this agreement. I want to say that this document didn't just drop out of the sky. This document came out of, as a result of some 9 engagements, some 9 meetings between the National Skills Training Program, our partner, and to thank them for partnering with this S.T.E.P, and the Technical and Vocational Education Training Secretariat. The document speaks to, as I said, it gives some background, the roles and responsibilities of the S.T.E.P, the roles and responsibilities of the National Skills Training Program by the Ministry of Education via the National Skills Training Program, and the roles and responsibilities of the Technical and Vocational Education and Training Council. The document also speaks to what is expected in relation to reporting, monitoring and evaluation of the training, assessment and certification, and a graduation ceremony. So this is a comprehensive document that will clearly define the relationship between all parties that are involved. Now let us look back a bit. The country knows what was taking place up at Newtown. People up at Newtown had no method of assessment until the the government changed and there was an intervention. The monitoring was not there. As the Caribbean Development Bank indicated, they were using outdated modules, okay, prepared by Hatchers of Jamaica. Persons were trained in cosmetology for 3 years, computer graphics for 3 years. I want to say as a diversion, I remember one meeting where we had with the facilitators who were placed at Newtown. I asked one of the ladies who were training in cosmetology, if you went to the States to do a similar program, how long will it last you? She told me between 9 to 11 months.
Yes.
And that is an indication that what was going on at Newtown could not have been allowed to continue.
That is basically a bachelor's degree.
Basically a bachelor's degree. I want to say to that, the training that we are delivering under the S.T.E.P, it is modular, it is time-based. We have agreements with the facilitators. We are working on the certification mechanism, and all of the training will be implemented by the National Skills Training Program using Caribbean CANTA, the Caribbean Association of National Training Authorities standard. So we are working with a standard. It's not training that will run on and on and on and on. We have a batch, initial batch of about 80 trainees that we want to run through the training programs in mechanic, AC maintenance, electrical maintenance, plumbing maintenance, food and beverage, bartendering, landscaping, housekeeping, just to mention a few of the areas. And when we are settled on these persons and the time is drawing nigh for them to be evaluated and certified, we will begin the process of identifying another set of persons who can receive training. I said earlier that the government is shifting the emphasis of the program to ensure that we have persons in this country who are certified. And I want to make that absolutely clear. Originally, the trainees will be given a National Vocational Education Training Certificate, and the better of the set will move to the AVEC, the Advanced Vocational Education Training Center, after which they will be given a Caribbean Vocational Education Training Certificate, which means that at the end of that program, our nationals can move across the region and secure livelihood for themselves based on the training that they would have received under the S.T.E.P program.
Mr. DeSuza, all that you're saying sounds very good. But if I was on that program with a mindset like some persons, I will say, man, what training you come telling me about? What certification you can telling me about? If I can get some money in my pocket, I can come out to work 7 o'clock in the morning and go home 8 o'clock and get some money in my pocket. Mama, what is better than that? What training, what hard work, what sacrifice are you telling me about? All I want is some money in my pocket, and if I can do it and use as little time as possible, and that is the best thing.
If you are allowed to get away with it, so be it. But I think the management of the S.T.E.P has a responsibility to be in constant contact with these workers, to get them to begin the process of changing their mindset. I think we have to appreciate that a skill is always a good thing to have.
Sure.
Back in the old days, you'd have heard the old people say, when you leave school, you either go learn carpentry, you go learn plumbing, or you learn something.
Right.
A skill is always an advisable thing to have. And if you're good at your skill, you can do much better than some of our civil servants do. Persons who see the program as, listen, I can just get up, go in my community, work for 2.5 hours, and I go back home. We're not going to be accepting that anymore. I said earlier that the hours have changed. We're going to be increasing the supervision, and we have done that. And we expect people to be out there working, when the field officers, when the supervisors are coming to these communities. I myself have decided that I am going to maybe next week be a part of the team that will go around to look at the changing work hours, have some interaction with some of these young fellas and see exactly what is going on, because it is advisable that you work a fair day's work for fair day's pay. Okay?
Now, how do people get enrolled on the program, the STEP program, in terms of the skills training and so on? What are the entry requirements?
Well, there's still a form that we use. We're going to have to make some modification to that form, and that is already being worked on, because we don't want, when people come out, they say they want to go work here. People must indicate, I would like to be trained in this area, in that area, or some other areas. And we realize the trust on the Southeast Peninsula in relation to the tourism sector, and that is where our initial set of training areas would be, because we have to be able to take up these jobs as they become available.
Now, how long is this the program was intended for? The training?
Well, the training is modular. The different areas will have different modules. I'm not sure exactly like how long the plumbing will last, how long the AC will last, but they will be modular. We will not have training that just run on and on and on
for 4 years.
No, that will not be at all.
But the objective is basically to fill critical areas in the work,
particularly in the
workplace,
hospitality sector.
In the hospitality sector.
And we're using modules. Modules don't just run on and on and on like what was happening before.
Right.
We're not going to be doing that.
Right.
Okay? Canter standards will be engaged, all modules, so the training is time bound. Okay? I can't, as I said earlier, give you a time frame for some of these areas.
Now, is there a component to the program, for example, that you will call entrepreneurship?
Yes.
For example, people can start their own businesses.
Yes. My time at the Basic Needs Trust Fund office as the project manager basically equipped me with understanding how these skills training should be delivered. In addition to training in entrepreneurship, where you speak to people about the need to keep records, the need to make sure that you know your income, your expense, so you can see where you're going.
Sure.
We are going to have training for each of these persons in employability skills, in social and soft skills. From some of these meetings, I know it is difficult with some of these fellows, difficult to interact with them. So you're going to have to impress upon them, this is what is expected when you go in a job site, this is what is expected when you go in an office.
Sure.
People have to understand that if you go to work, let's say at the water department, officially as a civil servant, you can talk to your supervisor as you like. You can swear to your supervisor, or you can come to work just in a short pants, or for the ladies in what they call strap. You can't do that. So these are the things that we will be adding
the soft skills.
to the soft skills, which to me are very important.
Very.
I, at one of the meetings, recognized that, at an official meeting with the permanent secretary, one of the fellows just took off his shirt in the meeting. So those are the challenges that we'll have. But we are complementing the training in a particular skill, plumbing, maintenance, AC maintenance, what have you, with training in employability skills, training in social and soft skills, and of course basic introduction to entrepreneurship.
Now, Mr. DeSuza, you mentioned a very important point, and that is certification. And I don't think that we can underscore it enough. Now, we have a lot of people in our society, and they're doing work. We have people working in masonry, in carpentry. You have people doing all kinds of things, but they do not have any certification. And then the problem becomes when they travel. For example, you go somewhere else, and one of the very first things that they would ask you for, You can't tell them that you have it.
certified
Yeah, because
mason?
they're not going to ask you first for your experience because they don't know nothing about your experience.
Yeah.
They will first ask you, do you have some form of certification?
Certification.
Now, for persons on the STEP who are going to receive the STEP, the skills training and so on, will this certification be able to be used regionally? I know, for example, at the college you have, you know, there used to be a program there, for example, auto mechanics and so on, that England, I forget what you call it,
City and Guilds.
City and Guilds, the City and Guilds program and so on. Will the people certified under the STEP be able to take their certification throughout the region, for example, and it be recognized?
Yeah. The initial training will lead towards National Skills Vocational Education Training Certificate at NVQ, National Vocational Education Qualification Certificate. The country is not ready yet, and I'm told we about a year from that, to deliver Caribbean Vocational Education Certificate.
The
That is the CVQ. That is what you need to move across the region. But I said earlier in my presentation that when we have gone through the initial training leading to the NVQ for practically everybody, the better of the set, we will take them, run them through a program at the AVEC, that's the Advanced Vocational Education Training Center now. Out of that program, they will be able to get a CVQ, which will equip them to move across the region and get meaningful employment in the area of their training.
Sure. No, I noticed that you spoke about the hospitality sector, which is basically the area where we are today in St. Kitts and Nevis. For example, the tourism.
Emphasis.
Tourism is the emphasis. Tourism is the main income revenue at this point. What about the CFBC? I know that they have a culinary arts and hospitality center there.
Well,
are they on board in terms that would fall on the TVET?
That's an interesting question, and you know it always comes back to a comparison. It makes absolutely no sense for the STEP to reinvent the wheel when it comes to the training. That apparently was done before, and we have no intention of doing it. That's why we link with the national skills.
Sure.
Now, the persons who are dealing with the hospitality training under the STEP, the national skills must determine, because that is the government's official training institution, if the program that the national skills is offering is on par with what the CFBC is offering. We are allowing the National Skills Training Institution to determine the executing agency for some of these training. We are not going to that.
Sure.
The STEP basically providing the funding for the training, but we are not the executing agency for the training.
Sure.
The government National Skills Training Program has been there for over 20 years, and it makes no sense. We at the STEP go and decide we want the training here, we want the training, we want the training. No. We are working with these folks. As I said earlier, 9 meetings since August of 2016 that we have had to work out the logistics of these things. So if the National Skills Training Program figures that the program at the CFBC is adequate, the National Skills Training Program will link with CFBC. We are not going to link with the National Skills and still link with CFBC. So we're allowing them to do that. We're giving them that leeway. Now, there must be discussion, don't get me wrong, because we must be satisfied that the facilitators are up to par. We must be satisfied that the program offered is what the TVET Council will approve. All of these things must be in place before the STEP agrees to be a part of that. But we're not reinventing the wheel at all.
Okay, in terms of getting people on the STEP program, but at the very same time, there are some persons who have qualifications. They are not seeking qualifications. They have qualifications and they are on this program. You have people with university degree.
Yes.
You have people who would have completed the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, and they're on this program and so on, and they are making a minimum wage. Is this a blessing?